Hello, 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 and good morning, everyone. How's it doing?
Good morning. What's up?
Doing well. After a successful week last week, we had to bring our organizer extraordinaire, Mr. Driver, back. He's been having such a good week. So happy to have you back, Mr. Driver. And then Sonya is coming back from her short sabbatical of rest and relaxation. Hey, Google, stop music. The internet is undefeated technology. But
Yeah.
Thomas, how's your week started off on this hump day?
It's going pretty good. Working with a lot of parents, different situations in the school system, but all in all, it's going pretty well right now.
Okay. And how about you, Sonya? I know you're sharing it out just a little bit.
Yeah, all is well. Just been a busy week coming back off of vacation. It never stops.
Mm-hmm.
Just my heart just goes out to the parents and children. But I do want to take a moment to send our love and our condolences to Visha Hawkins, who is a true advocate for children, especially in the literacy world. But she's an advocate for Black children. She is a pro-Pell grandparent. And we want to send our love, our condolences, and ask God to comfort her and give her peace as she mourns the loss of her father.
Yeah. And thank you for mentioning that. I think it's hard, especially when it's unexpected. And Visha has just been a friend to so many people, not just here in Nashville, but around the country. And so I know we're all sending our warm hugs and much love to Visha Hawkins and her family.
Yes. And I also say that to say that today is a celebration of his life. And so we'll end a few minutes early. So those of us from my team who can attend his services can do so. So thank you guys for being patient. We wanted to make sure we hung out with you guys for a little while, but also we wanted to make sure that we go and comfort our friend.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I'll say today we got a couple things to talk about. Things that have been making the headlines around in public education as we talk about the budget, as we talk about funding, the education town hall. So far, I think Commissioner Swin has done 8 or 9. One recently here in Nashville that I saw on the news, and we just want to see what have people been saying, not only here in Middle Tennessee but around the state. What are their next steps? And so we'll talk about that. A big thing that we'll talk about as it comes related to academics, we'll talk about technology woes. I want to say, Sonya, about 3 weeks ago, we talked about internet and access in the schools and kind of figuring out what's going on because we were hearing some rumblings. And then lo and behold, the local newspaper wrote an article like we're dealing with serious technology issues. And so we'll talk about that, but also hear parent feedback from you guys. Is it something that you're experiencing? Do you know? The graduation rate has went down. This is the second year in a row. And so we'll just, again, talk through as parents. What are you hearing? What are you feeling? What do you want to be seeing? And then, just to kick us off, I just want to thank the parents for the meeting last night. So last night, just from this show alone, we realized that we had some issues in public education, but it was one particular group that's really been very vocal, but hasn't been getting a lot of support. So last night, just for us, was just a listening opportunity and just give it out. I know Ms. Moffitt, who regularly comes over here, Ms. Brewington, and a few other parents, thank you guys for giving us your time so we can listen and figure out some of the issues in public education and really try to make a better situation, not only for your kids who are on the call, but for all kids around the district, because we are realizing that it's a systemic issue.
Yeah. Shout out to the parents and shout out for their bravery.
Yes.
For using their voice and, also realizing that they're not alone. And I think that, when parents realize they're not alone, it gives them a little bit of comfort to know that somebody's willing to fight with them. So shout out to the parents and the grandparents.
And the grandparents.
Grandfathers and grandmothers that were on that call.
And Mr. Driver, we're not going deep into just, the the meeting because we still want to figure out a few things. But how was it for you? What are some of the things that you really could appreciate about your parents who are showing up?
It was definitely a eye opener. I heard a lot of these issues over the years, and just to see parents come together from all different walks of life, from all different statuses, and have some of the same issues. It was definitely an eye opener for me. It was very heartfelt.
Amen. Amen. And one of the things I want to move to is something that we experienced that we have just been seeing pop up. It's just with a lot of violence in our schools. I want to say at an elementary school, I want to say on Monday evening, you saw reports of kids bringing guns to schools and just overall school crime. I mean, we saw what happened in Michigan. And I just want to take a step back. Sonya, if you got any thoughts on this, what are some things that parents can do before it reaches a critical level around where a kid feels they have to bring a gun to school because they don't feel protected?
I think we gotta. I like to walk things back, right? Somebody's got some background noise. It's really loud. Thank you. I want to backtrack. The why is always important, John and Thomas. Right? Let's talk about the why. And several years ago, Tennessee came up with these anti-bully laws. There was a big anti-bully movement across the country, and Tennessee was one of the states to adopt anti-bully laws. And if you guys remember, there were like supposed to be like some professional development, and there was like these campaigns within the schools, and that failed a lot of parents and students. And walk with me as I talk about this.
Okay.
The reason why a child would bring a gun to school, there's multiple reasons around it. But the biggest reason is they don't feel safe. They feel unheard. And they don't feel like anybody else is going to do anything. So what a child is saying when they have a gun loaded or unloaded is that the people around me are not going to believe me. They're not going to listen to me, and they're not going to do anything. And so I have to take matters in my own hand. And I'm not condoning the behavior.
Right.
But we have to look at the why behind it. That's how you fix it. Like, what is happening? We're hearing so many situations, and I can testify to this. I had a daughter that went to MLK. She was being bullied in 7th grade at MLK. We reported it to the principal and to the teachers and everybody. The bullying continued. Kind of slowed down for a little while. Was kind of intermittent where my child was kind of dealing with it and wasn't really saying anything to me because she's like, nobody's going to do anything until it got really bad, right?
Yeah. And then we hear about it getting bad for parents.
Then it got really bad, and I go to the school and I'm reporting it again, and there's no documentation. We started all over in 9th grade trying to deal with this because the school did not follow policy and law. They were supposed to document. They had a new principal, which in transition, nothing was done previously. I said at the same, we demand equitable education policies and practices. And not only do we demand them, we demand that they follow them. If you want to help children, follow your policies and your practices. Can't hear you, John.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, parents, if you're listening to this, if you have experienced it yourself, if you know parents who are going through this, like with bullying, like send us a direct message, because we're realizing, it was a big issue right before the quarantine and COVID happened. And I think it's what I hear from people is definitely happening again, if not more, but we're not talking about it because it's kind of like parents are still trying to figure school back out and get kids back into a rhythm. But this is something that I think is still affecting parents. And so if you know of parents, if you're dealing with something, like, let us know.
I think that everybody is washing their hands of it. Like, I mean, let's just the truth be told. Like when there's a whole policy, Thomas and John, and the parents are not getting any justice, any help. Like literally, we're hearing from parents where the school is just washing their hands of it and not taking responsibility. And I just wonder, does the district need to go back and do some professional development around this?
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity. And Thomas, I'm gonna go to you and get your thoughts because I know not only are you a parent organizer, but you work with kids as a coach. And so, what are some of the things that you've been hearing while the football season, after football season was going on?
I know that I know they need to start taking it a whole lot more serious. I don't know if teachers or principals or assistant principals. I don't know if they start to become immune to things or maybe don't take situations as serious as they need to be taken. But when you're dealing with Black kids, specifically from the community, things, as we say in the hood, things turn up really, really fast. So I'm still trying to figure out, what's the protocol
Okay.
to certain situations, because Sonya, she tapped into some real valid points as far as when a child, with the undeveloped mind, still growing and still learning, and you have all of these distractions from social media and from outside, and that it's a lot going on.
It's a lot
So
going on.
so you need to, these situations, they have to be nipped in the bud early. You have to be in contact with the parents or the guardians or the grandparents. You have to take these situations very seriously. They're not anything to play with. Little things turn to big things really, really fast. You
Mm-hmm.
have, gang violence. You have kids that are just scared. You have kids that feel like they can't tell because they're going to be looked at a certain way. I don't know that I've heard of anything where there's how issues are resolved, not necessarily stopped for the day or stopped
Yep.
for this class period. I had a principal, I'll never forget him, Mr. Thompson at Lytton, and he was new to the school, and he brought some strategies, and was able to stop riots and all different types of things. So I mean, he took the situation serious, but he cared. He wanted to
Yeah.
know the issues.
Yeah, but you say that, and so we talk about social emotional learning now, right? That's like the new word to let everyone know, okay, like this is something we're dealing with. And as parents, we invested, I want to say it was at least 5 million. I'll look it up, but I think it's a lot more than that for these social emotional learning centers. And have we seen the impact of the money spent on social emotional learning, or is it something else, Sonya? Like, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna say her name.
Okay.
Taraya Sledge, 2019, committed suicide. She was a seventh grader in Metro schools. She was being bullied. I'm gonna say her name. That's how serious this is. And I said that on purpose because I wanted people to hear her name. So the thing is, it's already done happened. Okay. We're not waiting on something to happen to one of these kids, John and Thomas. It already happened in 2019, before the pandemic. It has already happened. This is what we are going to do as Nashville Propel. We're going to educate our parents on the policy and procedures. There is a whole state law around harassment, around cyberbullying. Ask me how I know. If you can do a thing, you can teach a thing. I've actually had a child that had to be prosecuted because the school district wouldn't help, and the parents of this students were powerful. They were pastors in this city. Yeah, I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm gonna be transparent. I was fighting against the school system and a pastor who had a name in this city to fight for mine. But when we know better, when we know the law, when we know our rights, then we can effectively fight. And so I think what we have to do, John, is we have to coach our parents through this process. Thomas, you're right. There's a process.
Yep. And Miss Nicole Williams says it was a little girl who hung herself in East Nashville in 2020. And as Sonia said her name, I just went back and I'm gonna read just an excerpt of it. It says, the death of an MNPS student is under investigation by police in the school district after the 7th grader took her own life. Metro Nashville Police tell Fox 17 are investigating the death of Tariah Sledge as an apparent suicide the cause of death will be released until the autopsy is complete. But what led to Sledge's death has become a focal point for some in the community, including those with children at JFK Middle School. And I remember that like it was yesterday. And it was a hard thing to deal with. And I think what we said there, Sonia, we said not another one. That we gotta jump in this right now because it's just that important.
Yeah. So if you know of children who are being bullied, if you know of parents, please inbox us, inbox our organizers, and let's take some collective action. Let's these weapons being brought to schools. We got to look into the why behind it, and I'll go back into that. For somebody to get a gun, they are afraid for their life. And although it is not the best decision, we need to figure out a way to help children to cope. And also, how do you resolve conflict? Like there needs to be some conflict resolution kind of development. It needs to start in elementary school. Why is that not a part of curriculum? Why aren't churches doing it? Why aren't community centers talking about conflict resolution? Like if we're going to talk about social emotional learning, then that's part of it.
Yeah.
Teach it.
And I'll go to one thing. I see our good brother, Tracy Boyd, he asked, am I on the school board? And I am. And I think the thing we have to realize is organizers in this work, a system is just not gonna do what it's supposed to do because one person thinks it's the right thing to do. Like we do these things, we have access denied to build a collective. I see Sparkle is on here. I see Kendall is on here. I see Shamika is on here. I see Candace who talks about her son is getting cyberbullied online while at school. Once we realize we got these issues, we need to drive forth that. And it's not with one person. Like the community has to realize that we need this and we all have to come together. And that's how we got to start to do things. And we're realizing this bullying thing is getting out of control. I mean, Tammy Awali says, I would just like to say my grandson from Ruby Majors won first place at TSU and speaking for the 4-H club, and he goes to the regional in January. Tammy just coming on here, just smile, makes me smile. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy.
And Corbin says, I keep hearing about adult bullying kids as well.
Yeah,
I hear that.
So guess what? There is a whole law. This is how I was able to get justice for my daughter. There's a whole law that defines what harassment is, what cyberbullying is.
Okay.
Those are charges that were brought against that child that was bullying my child. Went on the internet, told lies on her, did all kinds of bullying her. Those are prosecutable. But parents, now let me talk to the parents.
Okay.
Let me talk to parents, because I can talk to parents. Monitor your children's social media. When your children are bullying, you need to find out why they're bullying people. Is it their self-esteem that's low? Do they understand what it means to harass? I think that sometimes some children don't realize that the things that they're saying and doing are detrimental. And I think sometimes people in general say things to hurt others. Hurt people. And so if I can't punch you, I'm going to say some bad stuff to you.
But say that again, Sonya. Hurt people do what?
Hurt people.
As adults, you realize what that means. When you going through something, you want somebody to feel the hurt you got. Because of the immaturity, you don't realize it's all right to have a bad day. But hurt people, kids and adults.
And you know what? And sometimes people are going to do things to you. It's all right to forgive and not mess with them no more. And not have to get revenge. That happens. It is all right to forgive. Children, it is all right for you to say you're sorry when you done something. Adults, it is all right for you to say that you're sorry when you done hurt somebody. I had to do it this morning. I hurt somebody's feelings this morning. And they texted me and said, you hurt my feelings. And I picked up the phone and I took accountability for it. And the person started to, you know what they started to do? They started to take accountability. They started to try to take back because they felt bad because they said something to me. And I'm like, no. I heard you, although I didn't mean to. I heard you. I was insensitive to you. So I have to be accountable. We have to learn to have those conversations with people. That is functional.
Well,
and so parents, if you have children who are being bullied, there are supports and resources for you. And parents, if you have children who are bullying, help them to take accountability to that so they don't grow up to adult D-balls.
Come on now. I promise you, I never forget my mama told me she was talking about a coworker who was messing with her. I was in elementary school, maybe 4th grade. And in my 4th grade mind, I was having issues at school. And it didn't register that as an adult, she was dealing with the same thing. But we realize as adults, as parents, it's some messy people out there who act like that as kids and never change as adults.
I see adults bullying other adults on social media all the time. And I say to myself, I bet that person is 2 feet tall, sitting behind a typewriter, typing stuff. Being mean because they feel like they can't buck up with nobody. So we gotta, there has to be accountability all the way around with that. And it's not okay to say what you want to say to people.
Right.
Sometimes. Now, wait a minute. Sometimes it ain't. But in general speaking, we know what we're talking about. We're talking about burning on people. I'm gonna use our term.
Yeah.
To the point of humiliating them and making them feel worthless.
Yep. And now I'm going back to Tammy's comment because like that's real, like the whole burning of the jokes or whatever they call it nowadays in pop culture. But the reason she talked about her grandson winning the 4-H award because he's on the spectrum for autism. And she said it's hard for him to make friends. And I think we gotta celebrate that, but we gotta support the students. And we got to talk to our kids around when you see a kid that's different. Like it's just teaching kids some life skills that'll help them go even further in life. Like just the simplicity of making sure you respect others who may not look like you, sound like you, or act like you.
Yeah, even in my own house, I always like to use myself as an example because my house is not perfect, right? Like we're not talking about perfect people. And I can remember a time when my children would try to be mean to each other, say things like "you're stupid" and all of those things, and I did not allow it. I did not allow my children to bully each other in the house and call each other stupid and call their friends stupid. And and so we have to, words mean something. They have power. They have power. And we never know when we might say the wrong thing to somebody and they want to go jump off a building. And we have to talk about that stuff in our houses. You could be the one to send somebody over the edge because you say something. Now, if you make that mistake, be a big enough person to go apologize. And those are the things that we've got to all embrace as adults and children. But let's get back to this policy, because what has happened to these people is very real. And so I want to just kind of read what the law says harassment is, John and Thomas, if y'all don't mind.
Okay, let's do it.
And so it's very well defined. Harassment, intimidation, or bullying means any act substantially interferes with a student's educational benefits, opportunities, or performance. And if it takes place on school grounds, at any school-sponsored activity, on school-provided equipment or transportation, or at any official bus stop, the act has the effect of physical harming a student, damaging student's property, knowingly placing a student or students in reasonable fear of physical harm to the student or damage to the student's property, or causing emotional distress to a student or students, and creating a hostile education environment. That is the law. The district attorney will prosecute on that. Ask me how I know. Been there, done that.
And Thomas, what just your thoughts? Because I saw one of our parents, Sparkle, said that her kid was getting bullied, and to know what the law says and what a policy says. One of the books we read, it said, learn the policy and hold them to the policy that they created. Hold them to their own words, and those words mean a lot.
That is state law. That ain't MMS law. Okay. That is state law. I can give you the annotated code on that sucker. That is the state law. And the district attorney and the Metro Police helped me to enforce that law. They take that very seriously. But when parents don't know, they don't know. Now you know.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And we'll, it's getting closer to time. I know we got the funeral, but Thomas, just want to get your perspective on all of this, just organizing with parents, and just you yourself as a parent and a football coach.
Yeah, I agree with I don't know, my mind is almost formulating to, like, I don't know if there has to be, like, a certain type of court in school or some type of way to resolve issues while in school specifically. That there has to be some type of way where, because in the community, opinions kill more people than guns.
Yep.
So there has to be some type of way, because I know there's a lot of times that I may be called and basically it boils down to maybe somebody doesn't want to back down. Maybe somebody doesn't want to seem a certain type of way. But really, it just takes somebody that brings that type of pressure or authority to, kind of chill both sides down. Sometimes your parents can do it. You may act a certain type of way, but then you may be raised a different type of way. So there's many different ways that situations can, be resolved. But when you leave it to kids to resolve, and they're spending most of their time on social media or, listening to certain type of music all day long, I don't put the blame on any of those things entirely, but dealing with what we're dealing with in the Black community, you can't take, there's not a 48-72 hour. You cannot take that long. If something seems wrong, you have to investigate that situation. It doesn't mean that situation has to go very far, but you have to, let the kids know that, no, we care. And to me, that's what takes, too much attention away from your academics. I was told, you go to school to learn.
Right.
You go to school to learn. Like, there may be a lot of things going on, but you go to school, your first objective is to go to school to learn. So when that's not your first objective, the school is failing.
Yep. And I like what you said, Thomas, like the early intervention. Like, the thing is, I mean, there's been like several campaigns, about smoking cigarettes and all kinds of things. Like the whole anti-bullying talk, interventions, it needs some legs in school. Like, we should be having these conversations. There need to be assemblies. There need to be all types of interventions put in place for these children to learn how to resolve conflict, because they need that. We know what the problem is, but I don't think anybody is doing anything about it. And I think it's very sad. I think that a lot of times the conflict with children can be easily resolved. Not every situation is a bully situation, but it will lead to that if we don't put things in place to make sure that children understand exactly what bullying is. Give them the definition. Let's talk about it. Let's give them examples. Let's do one-on-ones, doing reenactments or whatever we need to do to show them. Sometimes their worldview around conflict resolution is what it is, and if they don't see healthy conflict resolution, then they won't learn, because maybe their parents did not see that, and maybe their grandparents did not see that. And I think that there's so much opportunity for us as a community, as a school system, even as a juvenile justice system, to put things in place to help children more than we're doing, instead of, like you said, Thomas, leaving it to them to do it.
So this conversation has been rich. I'm gonna just read Tammy, because Tammy is on fire. She said, before I leave this conversation, I hope the Board of Education decides to put 5th and 6th grade back in elementary. That'll make a huge difference, I promise you guys. And they're definitely putting it back for 5th grade for the different areas, and we'll post a link on those areas. But I think you said something about Ruby Major, and that's what they'll be focused on. But just to lock it down on the bullying thing, like, let's come together and do this. I know so many parents, I just seen a parent said, if it ain't physical, the school said they can't prosecute. We can't tackle this bullying thing alone. We need to take the laws and the policies that they created that was set to protect the students, and use these policies and practices together.
Now, I want to be clear. This is state law. The school does not have authority to prosecute. It is state law. And so the district attorney, the local police, when it is at that level, parents, you and I and everybody need to make sure that we understand what the law says, its definition for harassment, and understand examples of harassment. Somebody calling your child big head is not necessarily harassment. If they're about to get into a fight, it's not always classified as harassment. So we need to make sure that we understand that it is the state law.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, guys, we are going to go early. This has been a rich conversation. Thomas, thank you for jumping back on again, second week in a row. We'll see you guys at our next Access Denied. We got a couple of things coming up that we'll be sending out to you guys. But thank you so much for jumping on. Share this out so other people can know, and we will keep this train moving. And please send your prayers to the Hawkins family.
All right. Our co-host Carson said.
All right, guys.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.